Good evening and welcome to the March 11, 2009 Civil Service Commission meeting. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Devine?
Here.
Commissioner Manukian?
Here.
Chair Karian?
Here.
And for the record, Commissioner Gantis and Commissioner Coleman are absent.
Okay, what's next?
The minutes?
Okay,
Can we do this because you weren't here?
actually, there's two people here, and that could be a majority. Yeah, so we can actually do it. Yes.
Okay, I move to approve.
Second. No, you can't second. I will second.
Why? He was here.
I was here.
You were the one that weren't here.
You weren't here.
What is this one? I was here.
Sure.
Gantis, Manukian, and
this
Abkarian
is
present.
January 28th.
This is January 28th. We first have to approve this one. So, Mr. Devine, why don't you hold on 1 second? We did this, right? I just have to sign it and give it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
We're doing
I'm sorry.
February
I apologize. I apologize.
No more crack for you.
Okay, I wasn't here, so I abstain. Could we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Commissioner Manukian?
Yes.
Chair Karian?
Abstain.
Oral communications.
None? Next?
Recruitment and examination status report.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this recruitment examination status report is here for your information. As you can see, I think you've been following the news. We do have a general slowdown in our hiring, and that's reflected on this report that you have. Used to be several pages longer than this, but you do see some minimal activity, mostly in the areas of water and power, community development, some of the non-general fund departments, as well as one or two other recruitments slipped in there. But otherwise, this is a much smaller report than as usual for the time being. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them for you.
Commissioner Manukian?
Just a quick question. Going through the report, for example, you have police lieutenant in here in two different places. You have it under the police department, under Russ Kwan, and is there a particular reason why it's... maybe I don't understand this portion of it. You have it also listed under a fire, city manager, or city clerk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does appear to be duplicated there. Interesting.
Okay.
Both
No problem.
Ms. Hunanian and Mr. Kwan are jointly working on that, so it appears under both of their sections. But, yes, there's just one recruitment for that.
Okay, no problem.
Just happens to be
They
duplicated.
just wanted the report to be a little bit longer.
I see.
They're duplicating stuff. Look at all, they're all smiling. They never had this much smile because they don't have as much work. Okay, what's next?
Eligible list established.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, keeping with what I had just stated earlier about the decline in the recruitment load, that is certainly reflected in the number of lists that have been established. Since our last meeting, we have one list. This is a promotional position within the legal department, and as is our custom with this report, we indicate the number of applications received as well as the total number who made the eligibility list at the conclusion. And if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to try and answer.
Any questions? What's next?
Mid-year report on hourly employment.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is our status report on hourly employment. I think most of the Commissioners recall going back to the year 2005, the Commission took some assertive steps to try and get control over the proliferation of hourly employment situations where people were working in a full-time or near full-time capacity, and a number of efforts were undertaken, both within my office, the city manager's office, at the direction of the Commission, to place some better controls upon that. One of which was to limit the number of hours within a fiscal year that our hourly employees worked. And that would be a limitation of 1,250 hours within that fiscal year, which amounts to roughly 25 hours a week in that type of a situation. In the course of that, we had agreed to come back to you and report on twice a year status of process at the mid-year point and at the conclusion of the fiscal year. We're now at the midpoint of the fiscal year, and this report reflects really only that we thus far have one employee who has exceeded 1,250 hours. At the conclusion of the fiscal year, there will be much more, but at this point, there's just one, and this is a position within the Public Works Department, which is working on a special project, the I-5-134 off-ramp, which is a significant project. It's been going for a couple of years. We anticipate that project to be done. I was just speaking with Mr. Zern a few minutes ago. He anticipates it being complete within a year, and at that point, the individual working these significant hours will be let go. Again, the best indication of where we're going to be at with this sort of a report is where we're at the end of the fiscal year. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Any questions? Next.
Report on advertising budget expenditures, October 2008 to December of 2008.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is your regular quarterly report on advertising expenditures. This reflects the expenses incurred between October of 2008 and December 2008. This report's actually been ready since January, but it's been pushed back a few times due to rescheduling and such. But pretty soon we'll be ready for the January through March quarterly report. This report, however, shows the activity occurring from October to December. Essentially $7,969 expended during that quarter. The total through all of the first 6 months of the fiscal year is $9,946. Once again, reflective of a general slowdown in hiring. This report does contain the types of advertising we've done in different categories on the second page of the report. We also have a report on applications where the applicants are coming from for the time period of July 1st through December 31st on one page, and then on the other side of the page you see those who were actually hired where they had heard about our positions, and this is a good indication of for our own knowledge where our applicants are hearing about jobs and where we can choose to place more of our advertising resources in the future. Once again, we're seeing our city website is probably the key area where people seeking employment with us are going to get that information. The report shows that 55% of the applicants came through there. Other folks hear about our jobs through walking in to the office or employee referrals and things like that. Anyway, interesting information, data for your perusal. In addition to all that, the report that's provided also gives some of the activities that we are working on for the future, such as a public service announcement type video that we're working on to help promote recruitment for outreach for women in the public safety services, and we're actually working on that with the staff member to the Commission on the Status of Women and GTV6. We're also working on another recruitment video project targeting a local Korean population for careers in law enforcement. We recently, last year, had done one focusing on the Armenian community, and quite successful taking that around and hopefully getting people interested in those careers. So those are just a few of the things that are occurring with our advertising. As you can see, our total advertising budget for the fiscal year is $61,000, we're probably not going to come close to spending that kind of money, which, again, is reflective of our slowdown in hiring. But these video projects and things like that do have ways of adding up. So whatever money might be short for the traditional advertising type things, we're going to take advantage and develop some good promotional materials. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Ms. Akopian is the preparer of all this information. Unfortunately, she is out on leave at the moment, but I'll do my best to answer any questions if you have.
Okay.
Just a quick question. Talking about that video that police department is putting together for the Korean market, which I think it's an excellent idea. Does the fire department have any plans of doing something similar to that, or because I really applaud the police department for doing that, and I really could see the benefits of the fire department.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, Fire Department is working on a project. Actually, it was a producer, someone that Chair Carrion referred us to. It's not progressing rapidly.
He was going to do it for free.
It is being worked on, and
Right.
and the fire, it's a little more difficult, these types of endeavors, because
they don't have regular hiring. With the fire department, we will do a recruitment once every couple of years, whereas police, it's more of an ongoing need for that sort of thing. So when you do a lot of these promotional efforts with TV ads and things like that, people get excited about it, they see it, and they want to go out and apply. Well, if we're not recruiting for fire at that moment, then it's
The reason why I think
difficult.
the fire would be really beneficial, it's not necessarily just advertising the availability of the employment. I think, the general public is not aware of all the different, even within the fire department, all the different available departments or the different jobs that they have. I think exposing that, and I didn't know for all these years, until I attended one of their open houses, and you get to see all the different available departments that they have, and an idea.
Yes. I'll check on the status of that project.
Thank you.
I was noticing on the list here where you show the different entities and how much they were paid, and I was trying to create a nexus between that and the response we got. For example, on the USA TV LLC, you spent a great deal of money, $2,100. And I look on here where you have the count for the response to the various entities, and they're not listed there.
Yes.
And there were many others, not many, but some others where there doesn't appear to be any response from them. And so I'm wondering if any thought is given. And on the other hand, there's some where you pay very little and you get a great response. So do you ever go through this and say, well, maybe it's not a good idea to spend $2,100 on this when we don't get a response?
Yeah, Mr. Devine, it is something that we factor into as far as where we decide to advertise. I'm not sure if that's a good, accurate reflection of how of what value we're getting from that particular advertising, because the USA TV is the Glendale Police Department. That was the, if I'm not mistaken, that was the 20-minute video that was prepared, and it wasn't targeting a specific recruitment process. I mean, you could say that, but it was more of an educational piece focusing on careers in police work, and I'd love to show Commissioner Speck. Did I give you all a copy of that video? Or
Yeah, I think you did. So
and
this
it-
is for the production of it? I'm sorry, I didn't mean...
No, this was to run that
Oh, okay.
on the those different stations, and it's one of those things that
USA TV, is that the USA on the cable channel?
no.
This is just a
This is, I believe, one of the Armenian channels, USA. Maybe Steve Nersessian can.
USA TV's an Armenian channel.
Chair of Carry Steve Nersessian,
Right.
Commissioners, staff. USA Armenia is a local Armenian network that was actually at some point was going all over the California, and it was mainly run out of Burbank, California, but everybody in Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, La Crescenta had access to it. I don't know the exact channel in Glendale, but where I was, which is Sand Valley, was channel 27. Matt Dole is correct. This was mainly to advertise the actual video, and it doesn't show how many times it was run, but this amount indicated was for is for multiple runs. We're talking about.
It better be. Usually the commercial. How many minutes was this?
Well, I don't know, Steve. Was this the short one
This
titled
was-
"Family," or was
Correct.
This
This was the short version, not the 20-minute version. Let me
long
correct
was
that.
A minute?
Approximately about a minute, a little bit more.
But it ran.
It ran at least. I can concur. I don't know the exact amount on USA TV, but I can say on ARTN TV, which is another network. We're talking about 60 times or so during the month.
So it was not only every day, but
Yes, on a few times a day.
Is this the
Guys, you guys need to work out a better deal on this. Seriously, I mean, I know how much the commercials are running on some of these TVs, and to pay $2,100 at 60 times showing is not a good deal.
Actually, it was 4,200 because up above they have another Armenian station.
You guys need to work out better deals. I just, we're being told that we don't really have much to discuss on this issue, but I want to postpone that until next week and next meeting. By the way, anyways, but we need to work out better deals. Whatever other people are paying is what the city of Glendale is going to pay. I just want to make sure that we understand that. So we are not paying an inflated 40% more just because. It's not going to make some people happy, but that's just the way it is,
If I may, Mr. Abkarian, we actually, and we can bring this perhaps for the follow-up meeting, we actually got much better deal because of the city of Glendale. And there was comparison, they have it on their website that
I
shows.
represented some of these cable channels. I know what they charge. I'm telling you that if you ran it 60 times and you got $2,100 for 60 times running, it's not a good deal. I'm just saying, just to make sure that you guys work out, because I mean that's the highest. I mean, almost out of the whole thing in here, we spent almost $7,000, and out of 7,000, 4,200 or so is just an Armenian TV. Which, listen, I'm not objecting to, but I'm just saying that we need to make sure that we spread this around. You have Aspires News that got $60, and then you have USA TV has $2,100, ARTN has $2,100. You need to make sure that, first of all, we get our money's worth, and we don't spend 70% of our budget for a quarter just on Armenian TV.
Sure, and
Get a better deal from some of these TV stations, because that's not, in my opinion, that's not a good deal.
sure, and perhaps next time we'll have better numbers exactly for how much time, for how many number of, and what days, and all that stuff, and we can compare it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, the next item, if that's okay with Petty, because Mr. Gantis isn't here, and this is an important issue, I would like to go ahead and postpone it until the next meeting, so we can have everyone here, we can have everyone look at it one more time, so when we're going over it, then no one's going to come back and complain that they weren't here when we discussed it. It's an important issue. So,
You need a motion for that?
do we need a motion to postpone it, Ms. Farp?
You do not.
We do not need a motion because there's no action on it. So if that's okay with everyone, we'll just go ahead and continue this to the next meeting. What's next?
Agenda forecast.
So,
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, there is no major items other than probably some routine bulletin specifications scheduled for the next couple of meetings. Of course, I believe you wanted the previous report to be brought back on the 25th, so we'll do that. On the 22nd of April, several items relating to the request about hiring outside counsel and jurisdiction of the commission over investigations, as well as at that time we'll be ready for the next advertising budget expenditure report. And then again in the second meeting in May, we will bring back the remaining civil service rule amendments as proposed.
At some point in here, one thing that I had requested and I don't see anywhere in here was if we can bring the previous numbers for how much was spent on some of the hearings and then update them with all the new hearings dates, including how much we spent for court reporters, how much we spent for attorneys for each hearing. Remember, we used to have that, and we said it was going to be an ongoing report every quarter or something.
For disciplinary appeal hearings?
Yes. We had a report at one point that we requested a report where it basically said this is we had one case on a particular date, and we don't mention names and all that. We just say who was the attorney who represented the city, how much we spent for court reporter, and what was the total spent on that hearing. And we had that report before, and then we said we were going to leave it as in, I looked at some previous minutes, and it says it would be an ongoing thing that we would see once in a while, but I haven't seen that maybe in a year and a half, 2 years maybe.
Okay, we can implement something like that, or at the conclusion of each hearing, give you the exact amounts that were spent.
That would be nice. Actually, why don't we just see when was the last time we had it updated, bring the previous numbers also, and then add to them what we have today. Maybe do it sometime in June or something, June 24th maybe. Would that give you enough time to gather all the information?
Are you asking about hearings that had occurred in prior fiscal years?
Yeah, we're talking any hearings that occurred from the last time those documents were updated until today. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. All it says is, in this particular hearing, how much was it charged by the city attorney's office, and the number is given, then how much a court reporter charged, and number is given, and then a total was given to us. Last time it didn't really take that long to gather that information, so I'm not sure how long. And based on the previous notes, and maybe I'm wrong, if you can just go back and check that, I thought we were going to do that just to show the public that, how much each hearing is costing us, because at some point we were going over $120,000, $130,000 in some of the hearings.
Whose budget does that come out of?
Each department, I believe, pays for the attorney.
At the cost of any outside counsel is, as well as court reporter, is paid for out of a fund within the city attorney's office. We really don't incur any expenses anymore other than Mr. Potter, and then of course the court reporter is paid for by the parties that are seeking a court reporter.
They just put a line there. I think we said just to make sure that we were open and everyone knows what are the costs and all that. We said we were going to do that on a continual basis, and I would like to do that anyways.
Okay.
I would like to see it. I don't know if anyone else wants to see it. This is basically if the public wants to know how their money is being spent. It's a good idea.
Okay, I'll put that.
I'll just put it for June 24th, and if by then you don't have it a couple of weeks before, just let us know. We can always. Okay. Any other questions? What's next?
Reports and information, past due employee performance evaluations.
So, Devine, do you want to read those for us?
Okay, it looks like most of the departments are doing an excellent job. Out of these 15 departments, 11 have no past dues, which is outstanding. Included the city treasurer, the development services, finance, Glendale Water and Power, human resources, information services, library, parks and rec, planning, and police and public works all have no past dues, which is outstanding. The ones that do, there's 4 departments that have several first notices and several that have second notices that are due. But overall, it looks like they're doing a very, very good job.
Thank you. Again, that's important because when it comes time for hearings, if an employee is being disciplined and they don't have any, they haven't had a review in a year and a half, it's very difficult for us to gauge what they're actually doing. So that's how it's relevant to Civil Service Commission. What's next?
Civil Service Commission and our staff comments.
Comments from anyone? Sir, Mr.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I do want to report that last night the City Council did approve the rule amendment, the single rule amendment having to do with the transfer of employees, allowing the transfer of employees on probation. If any of you watched the meeting last night, the council did add one slight twist to it, and I think it was something that Commissioner Devine had raised when we were brought this before you, and limiting such a transfer to one circumstance, so that if someone were to be transferred from a position different from that from which they were hired, that can only occur once. That the person wouldn't be moved around 2 or 3 times, and I think that was a good suggestion and something that we will incorporate into the rule change.
Does that twist have to be approved by the Civil Service Commission?
You know, I consulted with Scott Howard, the city attorney, last night, and he indicated he didn't believe it needed to be, but if the commission does want to weigh in on it, that's certainly up to you. But the general spirit of the amendment, which was again proposed, the city council adopted that. So his opinion was that it did not need to go back to the commission.
So the city council could actually amend the rules that we've provided to them, make changes to the rules and vote on it without us even having anything to do with it? Now you're telling me that we vote on a rule that goes there and gets changed, and we basically have no say on it?
Well, I don't
Procedurally,
I don't want to speak for Mr. Howard, but I made.
what do we? Forget it. Okay, fine. If the city attorney says that there's nothing we need to do, and a rule change that went to the city council for review, my understanding was city council could either accept it or deny it. I didn't know that they can actually make changes to it. Then that change doesn't even have to come to us, and it's voted on, and now it's passed. It's very interesting. That's all I got to say. All right. Any other comments?
Move to adjourn?
Session.
There's actually one more item. There's a closed session item. So we will be adjourning into closed session. And we will not be reporting out after we come out of the closed session, so this will conclude our TV portion of the case. Thank you very much.